Hi, Mazel Tov, Ernie.
Thank
Mazel
you,
Tov.
Mario. Thank you.
How's the mother and the baby?
Thank God.
Good. He'll still be an American citizen as well, right?
They have to go to the consulate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to go to the consulate and
Yeah.
get him the citizenship. Yes,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's an Israeli citizen automatically.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Hi,
Oh,
Tov.
Mazel
Mazel
Tov,
Tov.
Mazel Tov, such wonderful news.
Baruch Hashem, thank
She
God.
made
Yes,
Aliyah
yes.
pregnant. Susie, she made Aliyah pregnant?
Yes,
I'm-
because
Yeah,
her kids
yeah.
her children had to start school. So
That's good.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Everyone's doing well.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Wow.
Good.
Amazing.
Good. That's nice. That's nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, they had very good medical care at Hadassah Medical Center.
Baruch Hashem.
She got lucky.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem, she had a really good doctor, a Jewish doctor, and 3 amazing midwives, Jewish, beautiful, wonderful midwives, different shifts, beautiful.
Yeah, they
Fantastic.
have the midwives do a lot of the work here in delivery.
Wonderful.
But the doctor is not doing the delivery?
Yeah, no, the doctor did the C-section.
Only the... Oh.
How long did
Right.
was she in Modi'in? How long did it take her to get to the hospital?
No, she was there.
It's a different system in Israel. They have to. She was overdue, so
she's been in Hadassah for many days.
so
Oh
there's a
my.
waiting. You have to go in for a wait. To be induced. There's other emergencies that come in. You have to. They admit you, and then
You're on a list.
You're on a list. It's a different system. So she was there since Wednesday.
Oh my.
Yeah, but not in labor. The labor started
Friday.
Friday.
No.
Friday.
Oh.
Wow.
They don't. You don't tell them what to do. They tell you. It's a different system. It's
Yeah.
here.
But
Okay.
the quality is very good. It's very
Excellent.
Yeah, they know what they're doing, monitoring, and it just takes a little longer. It's not.
I think they care more about the mother and the baby here.
Mazel
Yeah.
tov. Great news.
Thank you.
Kanahara. Beautiful.
This is child number.
For her, it's number 4.
Oh, wow. Kanahara.
So what is she?
So I assume you'll stay another week, right? I mean,
3 boys and a girl.
No, I'm coming home tonight. I've been here already 10 days. She was due,
You were here
over
longer
a
than
week and a
10
half
days.
ago. So she was overdue.
I'm staying.
But Susie will stay.
How big was the baby at birth?
8-2. We
And
made
now-
a Shalom Zachar. Baby was born between candle lighting and Shkia.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
really Friday. The baby's born Friday. So the bris will be Friday.
Friday.
Shkia determines the day. But we made a Shalom Zachar. I mean, in Modi'in. We were in Modi'in. So
Mazel
we made-
tov.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. So, and then in the shul, they made I had an aliyah where they gave a mazel, where they gave a mishaberach on the B'nai Nolad Lo B'Mazel Tov, and they sing beautiful. The whole shul sings, and the rabbi. It was this.
It's a packed shul.
Yeah, they're in a beautiful shul in Modi'in. Rabbi Przansky davens in that shul. Stephen Przansky made Aliyah.
Wow. He lives in
And
Modi'in?
He lives in Modi'in. He and his wife live in Modi'in. Her
Wow.
mother lives with them there.
She doesn't
Oh,
live with
And he
wow.
lives in
lives in an
Modi'in.
apartment there. She
He
lives in
moved to Modi'in, yeah.
I thought he
So
lived
we-
in Yerushalayim.
No.
No. So we sat next to him because we know.
Oh, he's
I had-
awesome.
Yeah.
My machutin was there too, Gary Hoffman. So when,
Okay, I think you're sorry.
so anyways,
So when did she have the baby?
she had the baby right after
Shabbos,
right at candle lighting, a little bit after candle lighting.
Actually, it
But
was.
in Yerushalayim,
It comes in earlier.
they do it
they
very
start
early.
They
So
start-
Shkia was like 6:52. The baby was born like 6:30 something.
Wow.
So, and we already in Modi'in. We
Very
didn't.
nice.
Yeah.
The Sabra.
Okay, fabulous.
To get, you have to go.
Everybody's healthy.
Everybody's healthy. Thank God. Thank God.
Good, that's the main.
Mazel tov, Ernie. Mazel tov, Susie.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we left off on Pasuk. We're in Shmuel Bet, Perek Yud Dalid, Pasuk Yud Ches. Remember, we have the Ishat Koit, who was sent by Yoav to give David HaMelech a mashal about two brothers. One kills the other. What should be done? And David gives a psak. And and from this, eventually David realizes that, or the woman makes David realize that this is a reference to the fact that Avshalom has been banished, and it makes David HaMelech think that maybe he was too harsh on Avshalom. So, Vayana Melech, Vayomer La'ishal, not Techati Mimenu Davar. Don't hold anything back. Asher Anochi Shoel Otach, what I ask. V'tomer Yishai Daber Nadoni HaMelech. Okay, speak. Vayomer HaMelech, Hayad Yoav Itach B'chol Zot. David suspects that Yoav maybe has put her up to it. Vatana Isha v'tomer Chein nafshecha adoni HaMelech im ish leheminu lasmiel mikol asher diber adoni HaMelech ki avdecha Yoav utzivani. She admits that Yoav had put her up to this. V'hu sam b'fi shivchascha. He had put the words into my mouth. Et kol advrei ha'ela. Levav pasuk chav. Levavur savev et pnei hadavar. In order to sort of bring this to conclusion, asav decha Yoav et hadavar hazeh. This is why Yoav did this. Vadoni chacham kechachmat malach Elokim ladat et kol asher ba'aretz. Now, why didn't Yoav himself come? To create this kind of picture of the mashal, the dimshal, was felt that it would be better coming not from Yoav. Now, Yoav understood or felt that Avshalom is Roy to be the Melech. He saw qualities in Yoav. Yoav saw qualities in Avshalom that he is Roy to be the Yorish of the Malcha. Pasuk Kaf Aleph. Vayomer Melech El Yoav. Hinena asiti et hadavar hazeh, v'lecha shevet tanar et Avshalom. So the king David tells Yoav to bring Avshalom back to Shalim. That he tells Yoav that I've listened to the woman. I've already taken a shvua to the woman that in the story that the woman had said about one of the brothers, he was going to be protected by David HaMelech, that even a hair on his head wouldn't be affected. He's going to transfer that psak to Avshalom. Now, he refers to Avshalom as a nar. We're going to see soon how old Avshalom is. He's almost 40 years old. How do you call him a nar? So Rashi says it's a Lashon Bizoyon. The Sforno says that because of his naris, that's why he sinned with Tamar and or he did an act of a nar, as the Kliyokar says. He wanted Yoav to bring Avshalom back, not directly the Melech, because again, the political aspects that the Melech isn't forgiving because it's his son. It's being done and not necessarily through favor of the king. Now, David married the mother of Avshalom Acha during the wars with Melech Geshur, which was right before Shaul HaMelech died. And Avshalom was the second son. So Avshalom is about as old as David is king, close to 30 years. This is about 10 years before David HaMelech dies. So he's ruled already for 30 years. So it's clear that Nar doesn't refer to Avshalom's age. It refers to his actions. Another person who's called Nar is Yoshua. Lo Yamish Hanar Mitocha Oel. That when it talks to the loyalty of Yoshua to Moshe Rabbeinu, at that time Yoshua was 42 years old. We learn that in Sefer Yoshua. So it's not uncommon that somebody will be called Nar, even though they're not a young person. Chav Beis vayipol Yoav el panav artza vayishtachu vayvarach et hamelech. Yoav bows to the king. Vayomer Yoav hayom yadav dechad ki matzati chen beinecha adoni hamelech. Today I see that I have found favor. Asher asa hamelech es dvar avdecha, that you agreed to what my thought was. It's only now that it seems that David relented to bring Avshalom back after he heard that these words came from Yoav. Yoav again thinks that Avshalom is more than the other sons of David, the person to be Yorish the Malchus. Yoav is happy. That's one of the reasons why he bows here. Yoav is happy that David is going to return Avshalom. He thinks that that's going to lead to Avshalom becoming the king, or at least this is the beginning process to that. And we're going to see certain psukim that show us how it was shaykh that Avshalom eventually pulled a large portion of Klal Yisrael away from David HaMelech during his rebellion against David, even though David is very beloved. We could see this process here already with Yoav. Yoav is happy. He thinks Avshalom is the Yoresh. Chav Gimel, Vayakam Yoav Vayelech Geshura. right? Avshalom has been staying with Melech Geshur in the land of non-Jews. And Yoav goes there, Vayavet Avshalom Yerushalayim, and brings Avshalom to Yerushalayim. You notice David HaMelech had used the language Lech v'hashev etanar. Lech v'hashev etanar. And he wanted there to be a tshuva process, that he should bring him back to a place in Eretz Yisrael where he should do tshuva on the fact that he killed his brother. He also understood that spending time in Geshur with his king there, he would learn bad midos. Only after a period of time would he come back to Yerushalayim. But Yoav didn't do that. Vayavet Avshalom immediately Yerushalayim, as opposed to using the word Vayashav. So he was not Mekayim this aspect that David wanted there would be some kind of tshuva process that goes on. Chavdalet, Vayomer Melech Yisrael el Beito ufanai lo yireh. He should go to his home, but I don't want to see his face. David is still angry at Avshalom, even though he has relented to bring Avshalom back. He's not going to see his face. So Vayisov Avshalom el Beito fnei Melech lo ra'ah. Avshalom goes back to his home, doesn't see the face of the king. Also, Yisov is a lashon go around. Don't go straight, like the Bnei HaMelech normally do, where they come in, pomp and circumstance. We've seen a lot of pomp and circumstance with the death of Queen Elizabeth and the ascension of King Charles. So the same thing. Normally, when the Prince of David would come back home, there would be betof uvechinor b'simcha v'shirim. They didn't want this with Avshalom. They wanted him to sort of come home quietly on the back alleys to show the world that David HaMelech is still upset by the fact that Avshalom did the chet of killing Amnon. There was no one handsomer than Avshalom in all of Klal Yisrael. Mikaf raglo ad kot kodo, from his heel to his skull, lo haya bo mum. There was no mum. How does this fit in? What does this have to do with the rest of the psukim that's going to come and the psukim that was before? What does it have to do with any of the story? So the Radak says, we're about to be told the story of the rebellion of Avshalom. So prior to that, the Radak says, Siper Magaram Lozeh. We want to know what led to the rebellion. Number one, Ki haya yafeh. Uv'chol Yisrael lo haya kamo. There was nobody like him in the Jewish people. However, this led to v'nizga'eh b'yofyav uv'sa'aro. He had a high self-esteem. He was haughty in how handsome he was. He had beautiful long hair. He himself chashav ki ein roy lemlucha mibnei David kamo. He thought he was the person among the sons of David to rule after David, and therefore Moradi, he rebelled. Says the Radak, Ulai Shama ki b'lev hamelech lamlich Shlomo achrav, that he had heard in the grapevine that Shlomo Melech already had been born, and that his thought was on Shlomo Melech. Therefore, Marad Laviv b'chayav v'ganav leiv Yisrael. We're going to see the next parak that Avshalom is going to do all sorts of tachbulot, all sorts of techniques of how to win the favor of Klal Yisrael.
Sorry, what is it? The Mamloes, whatever, says that. King David HaMelech I don't think he was very good looking. So it says that God sees what is visible in the eyes of God, sees into the heart. So even though he was good looking from the outside, he was not very, his inequalities were not worthy of such praise. In other words, he didn't have a good neshama.
Right. So that shows the striking difference between
Him and his father.
right and al tistakel bakankan elamat sheyesh bo is what the Balaam says. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Abarbanel says, Shaya David kolkach atzav al harigat Amnon. David is so upset that Amnon was killed. Shigamachrei divrei isha uboav shalom. Even after the words of the Isha to Ko'it, the Mashal, and now the return of Shalom to Yerushalayim, Lo ratzah lirot, he didn't want to see him. Even im heyoto ish kolkach yafeh, even though he was so good looking. Shelo haya b'kol Yisrael kamo la'alel mo'od mikaf raglo. That's Ritzon Olam sheyesh anashim yafim b'davar echad, ve'einam came b'davar acher. The Abarbanel, maybe this is where the Imam Loez got it. Imam Loez lived, like Rav Yaakov Kuli, who wrote the Imam Loez, lived like 1700. The Abarbanel is about 1500, time of the expulsion. So the Abarbanel says, Yesh anashim yafim b'davar echad, ve'einam came b'davar acher. That means they're physical beauty, but they don't have spiritual beauty. He was perfect physically. By this, you see the great anger that David HaMelech still has. Even though Avshalom had great malot, David still didn't want to see him. Ki ikar David HaMelech haya listakel shlemut hanefesh. V'yesh bo avon sharagachiv. And there's still this sin that Avshalom has, that he killed his brother. Chavav. Uvigalcho es rosho. Vayami ketzamim layamim asher yigaleach. We've said that Avshalom had long hair. And Yamim layamim, we'll see, that could mean every week, once a week, or every month, or there's a pshat that it means Yud Beis Chodesh, once a year. He would shave his head, yigalech, ki chaved alav v'gilcho, because it was heavy on him head. V'shakal etz arosho, and he would weigh it, 200 shkalim be'evan hamelech. And it says in Masechta Nazir, Daled Amud Beis, Rabbi Omer, Avshalom Nazir Olam Haya. Normally, when you say Hareani, if a person takes a neder and says Hareani Nazir, Stam Nazir is 30 days, where you can't take a haircut, you can't drink wine, you can't metame lemesim. There were people who were called Nazir Olam. They took a Nazir. It's forever. Now, Shmuel HaNavi was unique. He was a Nazir min abeten. Normally, an adult, would take a Nazir Olam after Bar Mitzvah, or after 12, when some hold that you can make the Dorim at that point, but not min abeten. But a Nazir Olam, man, you can be a Nazir for your whole life. However, that doesn't mean you never take a haircut, says the Gemara. Because where does the Gemara learn Nazir Olam? Shenamar, it says, Vayimi Ketz 40 Shana. This is in the next parak. We'll see what the 40 years refers to. Vayomer Avshalom al Melech Elchana v'Shalem et Nidri asher nadarti l'Hashem b'Chevron. U'megalech echad l'shneim chodesh. Says the Gemara there that if a person becomes a Nazir Olam, he takes a haircut once every 12 months. V'haya miketz yamim le'yamim, yalef yamim yamim ibate arechoma. That when you have a walled city, you have a house that's been built in the wall of a walled city, and when you sell such a house, you have from yamim yamima to redeem the house from the guy who bought it from you. So the Gemara says, Mahasam Yud Beis Chodesh, Avkan Yud Beis Chodesh. So Avshalom would grow his hair for 12 months. Rav Naharai Omer Megalech Achas Lalamid Yom. He says it's at once every 30 days. Rabbi Yosi Omer Megalech Me'erev Shabbos L'erev Shabbos. Shekain Matzin B'bnei Mochim Shemegachim Me'erev Shabbos L'erev Shabbos. Princes would take a haircut once a week. Now, the Radak says we're unsure. Amru Chazal ki Avshalom Nazir Olam Haya. Kain Hayta Kabbalah B'yadam. However, Min Apsukim Lo Ra'u Zeh. They didn't see it clearly from the psukim that he was a nazir. Ki Avshar ki Hu Haya Megadel Saro Liyofi Saro Litgapo Lihitgaot Bo Ulihitnaot. From the psukim, if you didn't have a drasha, it would sound like Avshalom is growing his hair for beauty purposes, to make him look nice. Now, the Kliyokar says that Kibel alav nizirut kishaya bikshur ben agoyim, vaya ma'aseh chasidut k'dei shelo yitla ben agoyim. Why does somebody become a nazir? If somebody feels he has a certain yetzer hara for something, so he becomes a nazir. It's an act of chasidus. I'm going to stay away from wine. Let's say that's his yetzer hara, or he has a different yetzer hara, immorality. So you shave your head, make you look ugly. So that's a ma'aseh chasidus. So the Kliyokar learns that since Avshalom was staying in Geshur with non-Jews, he decided to become a nazir as a way to stay frum. And and that's why the pasuk now comes to tell us about his hair, because now he's come back to Eretz Yisrael, and he continues being a nazir because of the nazirs that he took when he was in Geshur. Acherin, the Kilas Yaakov learns Adarabba.
Is there some connection between Avshalom and Shimshon with the hair?
Well, they're both Nazirim. They're both Nazirim. There's that connection.
But part of Shimshon's koach came from his hair not being cut.
Right, but Avshalom didn't have that special. Avshalom did not have superhuman powers like of Shimshon.
Okay.
That was granted to Shimshon, but not the same as Avshalom. But the other Meforshim say that this pasuk here is that even though he was a Nazir, he's still growing his hair because of his gaiva and to show how handsome he is. Because the pasuk tells us that he took his haircut not because a Nazir is required to do so after Yud Beis Chodesh. It says because of kavod sorrow. He couldn't stand the weight of his hair. And there's a debate among the Meforshim. Does a Nazir Olam have to take a haircut, Pam B'Shana, or not? Is he mechuyev lahakel? But the Rishus Biyado, if he doesn't want to do it. So the Rosh in Nazir, one of the Rishonim, says that the taking a haircut as a Nazir he can do it if he wants to. If he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to. He wasn't mechuyev to shave. He did it because of the kavod rosh. Others say no, it's a chiyuv. Okay. And there's also a lashon from the word giluach means you shave your head completely. The Gemara says mekel besaro. It doesn't say giluach. It says just lighten the load, where you'd leave some of your hair. Tosfos there says a Nazir Olam is only mekel. It's lo megaleach. We're going to see later on what happens to Avshalom. He had left some of his hair because we'll see his end comes through his hair. What are you allowed to do with the hair that you cut? Is it asr bana? What does normally a nazir do with your hair when you cut it? So a nazir at the end of his naziris has to bring korbanos, has to bring a chates, has to bring a shlamim, has to bring an ola, and they would take the hair and burn it in the fire underneath the pot that they were cooking the shlamim. From the fact that the psukim say you have to burn it, it's mashma that's asr bana. According to Manda Omar, that the Nazir Oilam is mechuyev to cut his hair. So there's also a chiyuv when he cuts his hair to bring korbanos, and therefore the hair would be asr bana. But if it's just a reshus to do it, then and it's only to lighten the load, as we say, then you don't bring korbanos, and therefore the hair would be mutter bana. Just a side point. Chav Zayin. We're told some more details in this story that leads up to the Mered. Vayvaldu l'Avshalom shlosha vanim, uvat achad ushma Tamar. He has 3 sons and a daughter, and he names her Tamar because of the rape that had occurred of his sister. He aita isha yefei mareh. And despite all of this, David HaMelech still doesn't want to see Avshalom. Says the Malbim, Elu aboni mesu be'esahi, and that all of these children died at this time. The Malbim learns it from the pasuk later on, where it says Vavshalom lakach vayetzev lo b'chayav et matzevet asher be'emek hamelech. There is a place here you can see Yad Avshalom. Avshalom built a memorial. Ki Omar ein li ben bavur yizkir shmi. Because I have no children. So I want this memorial called Yad Avshalom to be here because I have no children. That was one of the reasons that he wanted the Malchus. Sheyikra Shmuel Zecher Ad. The Radak, Mitzvah David learned the same way. That one of the reasons he wanted to become king is because he had lost his children. He wanted eternal fame as king of Israel. Now Rashi over there disagrees and says they didn't die. And he says there that he didn't have children, not that he didn't have children in Bichlal, but that they were not royal malchus. But anyways, this issue of children or not will come up. And Pasuk Chavches, Vayeshev Avshalom Yishalayim Shnatayim Yamim Ufnei HaMelech Lo Ra'ah. Avshalom is back for 2 years, and he still doesn't see the face of the king.
Is that
Comes
because
out according to the pshat we said before, that even on the death of his children, which somebody's supposed to come to be Menachem, a father on the death of his children, that even David HaMelech didn't come to be Menachem on the death of his children. This leads to hatred by Avshalom, which again sparks the rebellion. He saw how much David HaMelech still hates him. Go ahead, Ellen.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. But that's a very strong point. According to the Pshat, that he had children and they died, and David HaMelech had still not come to see him.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
If Avshalom had shown signs of doing tshuva, would David have been more accessible to him?
Perhaps. The fact that we saw that drush in the pasuk, they used the word vayaveh instead of vayashav, that David HaMelech was looking for signs of tshuva and perhaps didn't see it. So Chavtes, Vaishlach Avshalom el Yoav lishloch oto lamelech v'lo aval avo elav Vaishlachot shenit v'lo valavo. Avshalom uses Yoav as a go-between to try to get David to relent, to reconcile with Avshalom. Some people see a little taina here that he should have gone himself, sent shluchim directly to the Melech, not to Yoav, not through Yoav. So, meanwhile, nothing happens. So, Avshalom says, "Vayomer lavodav," pasuk lamed, "Ru'u chelkat Yoav el yadi v'lo sham sa'orim." Go look at this field of Yoav, where he's growing barley. L'chu vatzisu va'esh. Go light it on fire. Vayatzisu of the Avshalom es achalka bo'esh. And the avodim of Avshalom light Yoav's field of fire. Then he'll come to me. Then Yoav will agree to come to me. However, the Kliyakar says he told his avodim, start the fire in my field. And it'll go secondarily there. Don't go directly, because the people who watch the field will kill you. No, do it. Light a fire in the field next to it, and then it'll go on its own, and it'll burn Yoav's field. So there's a response. Lamed Aleph, Vayakam Yoav, Vayavol Avshalom Abayta. Yoav goes to Avshalom. Vayomer Lav, Lama Yitzisa Vadecha Sochaka Sheli Bo'esh. How come your avodim lit my field of fire? It's even worse that Avshalom didn't do it himself, sent his avodim. He did all of his actions. Avshalom did through shluchim. Remember, he sent his avodim to kill Amnon. Avshalom didn't do it himself. Again, all of this to make it look like he's a tzaddik in the eyes of the nation, making it easier to lead them into rebellion against David.
But if
Lamed
you
Bey.
order your servants to do things, aren't you responsible? You're the master.
So, but in halacha is ein shlichus l'dvar aveira. In American law, if I conspire with someone, I hire somebody to kill somebody. So yes, the law will see me as responsible. But in halacha, it's not like this. I send a shaliach to do a ritzicha. The shaliach is chayiv for ritzicha. He's put to death, not the person who sends him. Because there's a principle, ein shliach l'dvar aveira. Because the shliach is supposed to say, listen, I have Hashem, I have the guy who sent me. Who am I supposed to listen to? The law is not to murder. I'm not supposed to listen to some guy who sends me. So, yes, he's morally culpable. And in Shamayim, they'll take it into account. But Beis Din won't. Beis Din has no power if somebody sends. Now, there's, for example, in Me'ilah, there's certain exceptional laws where it goes back to the guy who sent it. Like if something is hegdish, so you're not allowed to benefit from hegdish. If I eat lechem that was mugdash to the base of migdash, I'm chayiv me'il. I have to bring a korban ashram. I have to pay an extra 20% for beyond what it's worth. So therefore, shaliach sends it. It goes back to the guy who sends it as well. But that's an exception by me'ilah. By all other dinim, and then as the Meforshim say here, it makes Avshalom look holy because he didn't do it himself. Lamed Beis Vayomer Avshalom el Yoav. Hinei shalachti alecha lemar. I've sent to you multiple shlichas. Bo heina v'shlachat chol hamelech, that to arrange for me to go to David. Lemor. Lama bati mikshur tovli od anisham. He says that I've asked you, what's the point of bringing me back from Geshur to see the face of the king if I can't see the face of the king? I did this to catch your attention. And the word im yeshbi ovon, meaning lo lechinam harakti Amnon. I didn't kill Amnon just stamazoi. Ki hu anat tamarchoti, he raped my sister. Number two, like what Esti said, the Minchas Yehuda says, he told Avshalom, ani lo harakti oto, ela avdi, ve'ein shliach l'dvar aveira. I didn't kill Amnon, my avodim did. And there's a principle, ein shliach l'dvar aveira. And if there is sin, I will accept to be killed.
If the shaliach is a goy,
Say it again.
if the shaliach is a goy,
Go ahead.
so also ein shaliach l'dvar avera. The goy
believe-
doesn't have the same as the Jewish, the same law.
No, but let's say a ben Noach, let's say he's holding the Sheva Mitzvos Bnei Noach. So, and he lives under the control of a Jewish government. So he would be put to death as well. A ben Noach can't kill either and would be put to death for that. If he's a goy and chanami, we don't have, there would be no, I mean, if it was one of the Sheva Ha'amim, we would kill him anyways. But we're talking about after all of that, we don't know who it is. But again, I don't think that's an exception to the rule of Ein Shlichus Advar Vera. If he's a Ben Noach, he'd be killed by himself because he has his own chiyuv not to kill.
When they use the lashon avon, what is the difference between like avon and a chet?
No, that has to do with whether you do it b'shogeg, whether you do it b'mezid, pshia. We just had a shiur by Rav Goldvicht a week ago when I was still in Los Angeles. When we say on Yom Kippur, Chatasi Avisi Poshati, it refers to doing a chet b'shogeg, doing a chet b'mezid, and doing a chet b'farhesia, where there's chilul Hashem. So different levels of chet.
So what is an avon?
Chatasi refers to a sin b'shogeg, because you bring a korban chatas for that. Avon refers to doing it b'mezid. Pshia is even worse, that you do it b'chilul Hashem as well.
Mhm.
So here also, it shows a little bit the lack of akar satov to Yoav. It shows the bad midos of Avshalom. Here's Yoav trying to bring him back from Geshur to Eretz Yisrael, and he's, manipulating Yoav, to listen to his words. His purpose is he wants to rule as king. You can see in his heart, he's already planning the rebellion. Where do we see that Yoav has to listen to anything that Avshalom has to say? He's the prince. He's not. He's the Sar Tzva Melech Yoav. So the fact that Avshalom had not been seen by David was known by everyone. It was bad PR for Avshalom. That it's clear that David is not selecting him to be the king afterwards. And this made Avshalom very angry, and this is part of his plotting. How does he get to where he wants to go? So the pasuk Lamed Gimel, Vayavo Yoav lamelech, Vayaged lo. It works. Vayikra Avshalom, Vayavo lamelech. David agrees to see Avshalom. Vayishtachu lo ala pavar tzatnei hamelech. Avshalom bows down. Vayishak hamelech l'Avshalom. So Minchas Yehuda says he kissed him on his head. And Shemocha lo b'lev shalem, that it was a sign that he forgave him. The Malbim and the Ralbag, however, says that that's a sign that he's not going to be king. Sheneshika im Lamed, this is in Toldos, is biyad or bekatef. It's like you kiss via your hand. Uvali lamed hu bepeh. V'lo nashako to bepeh. Because it doesn't say, it doesn't have a yinashake. It doesn't have the nun in the vayishak. And that would be appropriate if to the Ben Abachor is going to be moilech. And he kissed him not in the head, but he kissed him another part of his body. And the reason why that's important, because it showed Avshalom where David HaMelech's true thoughts were regarding who's going to follow him as king, which leads us into the next paragraph, which we're going to start. Can I see that, Susan?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ernie,
So-
can I?
Oh,
Ernie,
yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead,
just
Leslie.
want to say,
Go ahead.
in reference to this
Okay.
rebellion, where Avshalom will be rebelling, is there discontent in David's monarchy that would, give Avshalom reason to feel that he could rebel against him? Were people unhappy with David? That
You don't-
Avshalom felt, or was
David-
he just he was so egotistic that he felt that he could influence people, or was there actually dissatisfaction?
I don't think there's any evidence that there was dissatisfaction. It says in multiple psukim that the people loved David HaMelech. And we're going to see that Avshalom goes through all sorts of planning and PR things to try to shift the favor of the people to him. It's not
So it's
because they're
really
dissatisfied. It's not
ego
because they're
thing.
dissatisfied.
Not because it's dissatisfaction. So
No.
his ego, he felt that had the power to influence people.
Yes. Yes. I just want to read one drasha from Masechta Sota Yud Aleph on the pasuk of Vayomer El Vadav Ru'u Chelkat Yoav. Go to the field and burn it. Rav Chizda Omar, Gemiri, there is a Mesorah. Kol asoret wasser shel chavero eino meniach ben liyorsho. Whoever burns the field of his friend will not leave over a child to yorish him. That the connection between when he says I had no children is connected to this burning of Yoav's field. And therefore, says the Musar Nevi'im, Rav Chizda Sfir Le Shalo, Hiniach Shum Ben Liyorsho. Remember, we had a debate between the Meforshim, did he really leave over children or not? But it looks like Rav Chizda holds like the pshat that he didn't leave over children. Right? Madik Siva Posuk Shayelo Shlosha Bonim. Zeu Shemesu Achakach, V'lo Achakach Bonim Klal. V'nenash Bonish Zeh Mishum Sesart V'asar Shel Yoav. That the burning of Yoav's field led to the punishment where he wouldn't have any children. Now, says the Musar Nevi'im, Nira Lomar, Sha'achet Hazeh Lo Rak B'Misha Sesart V'asar Shel Chaver. This isn't just if you burn your neighbor's field. Even if you burn your own field, you're burning perfectly good food. Like our parents who always told us, never leave food on your plate. They're starving kids in India or China, whatever they said in our day, because you can't throw away good food. Sounds familiar, right? There are people who don't have to eat. They would be very happy if they had little scraps of food. And this person goes and just destroys food. Daf tzadik aladom and beis. Amrav Chanina. Lo shochav shibachas bri ela dekates teinasa blozmana. That my son didn't pass away only because he destroyed the figs that were not ripe yet. Anyways, we see the even small little things that people who are great people of Shalom, who comes from a great family, that their actions have very strong results. Let's start Perek Tezvav. We won't complete it, but we'll at least begin to see what Avshalom does to start the rebellion. Vayim achrei Cain. Now, what should it say? It should say Vayi achrei Cain. What's this mem? Vayim achrei Cain. Vayaslo Avshalom merkava v'susim. So first of all, Avshalom sets up a chariot and horses. The 50 ish ratzim lefanav, and 50 courtiers marching in front of him. He has now been accepted. This is after, when it says me'acharei, means after David has publicly brought Avshalom back. Avshalom is hoping that David is going to make him the heir. But meanwhile, he sees that his father's not doing that. So Avshalom now says, okay, I'm going to stand against him. Because after it looks like David is reconciled back with Avshalom, he can start the rebellion because he's not viewed as a Rasha anymore in the eyes of the king, and therefore Bein Ha'am. The Kli Yakar says that this mem is an extra mem. It should have just said Vayi achrei Cain. But the Neshika, the fact that David kissed him, was what was Garma Laharim Lev Avshalom La'asloso Tachsisei Malchus. When David kissed him, Avshalom thought, oh, I'm going to be the Yoresh. The word achrei is after. Vayi achrei Cain means, and now after what had happened. But me'achrei refers to the word because he kissed him. That was said before. His heart was raised, and that's why now Avshalom is putting on the trappings of royalty. This is the first shlav of the Meridas of Shalom. He is now making the people prepared that they have to show him Kavod HaMalchus. He hasn't done anything against David HaMelech at this point, except showing a little bit more trappings of Malchus. Beis. Let me see. No, that's later on. That's Pasuk Zion. No, this relates to Pasuk Zion. Vishkim Avshalom. Now, we go into step 2 of Avshalom's plan. Yishkim Avshalom v'omar al yad derech hashar. Avshalom goes to the city gates. Vayihi kol ha'ish asher yeh lo riv lavo lamelech lamishpat. People would remember. We know that David HaMelech was part of Sanhedrin. He was part of the adjudication of cases. Somebody had some kind of taina against his friend. They would come lamishpat. Vayikra Avshalom elav vayomer. Avshalom would call. Emi ze'ir ata. From which city are you? Vayomer me'achad shiftei Yisrael avdecha. I'm from one of the 12 tribes. And he would talk to them. And he would find out what are their claims against each other, or what is the one guy's claim. And what he's doing here is he would say, listen, I would judge you this way, truthfully, and not necessarily the way the king would judge you. He did this to curry favor with the people. And some say that this was after there was an adjudication in Beis Din, where some guy was already made chayiv to pay. That was the adjudication of the king. And he says, I understand your claims better. And I think, based on what I hear, that the din was with you and you wouldn't have had to pay. And, by asking, where are you from? It's a conversational piece to make you close to the person.
Ernie, how was David? How was David? How are they not aware that he was at the gate and doing this? He was a very prominent, very distinctive person. How did they not see him there? Wasn't there security, etc.? How did they not see him at the gates there?
Maybe they saw him there. They didn't know exactly what was going on there. Maybe his spy network wasn't
too effective.
wasn't effective at that time.
Would this be considered that he was Mored B'Malchus?
So that's if maybe if David was aware of this.
Yeah, but he's telling people who may have just come from Baston that I would judge differently. Who is he to?
He is
That's how he's currying. That's how he's currying favor among the people.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, you notice it says the word vihishkim. Hishkim means he wakes up early. The Gemara tells us that Bnei Malachim would sleep until the 3rd hour of the day. Princes would sleep long. Poalim would wake up very early. But he's waking up, that he's not like the other spoiled princes. He's up at the gate to help people who need him. He's like a working man. And that, again, he wants to show the people that perhaps they're not getting the justice that they deserve.
He's breeding discontent against David HaMelech.
Vayomer elav Avshalom, and Avshalom would say to the person, Re'ei dvarecha tovim u'nechochim, shomea ein lecha meit hamelech. You know what? Your claims are very clear, they're truth, and you're not going to find a favorable ear from the king. Or they would say he's busy. They would say David HaMelech is busy, doesn't have time to go into all the details. But I will hear more carefully. Now, we know there's a lot of Isurim being done here. There's Avshalom was being over halacha mufureshes in Hilchos Dayanim. Asur lo l'dayan l'shmoach b'bal hadin levadoi. You can't, if you're going to be a dayan in a case, you can't listen to the claims of one of the litigants by himself. It says in Shavuos Lamed Aleph, Minayin l'dayan shlo yishma divrei baldin, kodim sheyavu baldin chavero. From where do we learn that a dayan cannot listen to the claims of one of the litigants before the other one shows up? Talmud Lomer midvar sheker tirchak. Minayin lebaldin shlo yatim dvarv l'dayan, that one of the baldinim cannot sort of sweeten his claims. Kodim sheyavu baldin chaver Talmud Lomer midvar sheker tirchak. So there is, and the Shulchan Aruch and Chosron Mishpat in Yud Zayin, halacha hey, asur l'dayan l'shmoa divrei baldin ha'echad, shelo b'fnei baldin chavero. So Avshalom is not only doing something, as we say, merida b'malchus, he's violating halacha. Pasuk Dalet. Vayomer Avshalom mi simeni shofet ba'aretz. Alavai, I would like to have the crown of the Malchus just to be the shofet, just to be able to judge properly, so that people are going to be avoiding being adjudicated improperly. Let whoever wants to come to have a din come to me. Vayabi kravish posukei vayabi kravish lishtachavot lo. He would bow, he would take the person's hand to show his anivis. Person would bow to him, but he would take his hand to stand up or kiss him. That he showed that he's running away from kavod, or he didn't want them to bow down, like somebody would start bowing down. No, you don't have to bow down to me. All of this is to steal the hearts of Klal Yisrael. He The Me'am Loez says, like a politician. Like a politician. He's acting in a way of the regular, like the politicians who kiss all the babies. Somehow Avshalom managed to do this to almost every person who was coming to be adjudicated. Vayiganev Avshalom et Lev Anshe Israel. And through these actions, he was able to steal the hearts of the people of Israel away from David HaMelech. And that's where I'm going to conclude this week's Shir. We'll start from Vayimi Ketz Arbaim Shana. There's a lot to say about that pasuk, and begins the Merida in earnest. Any other comments or issues or questions that we didn't touch upon?
What's the procedure to appoint a melech? The previous melech, he has the authority to appoint the next melech, or there is any other procedure?
No, the procedure, remember, was by Navi, and they had to anoint you with a Karen. So Shmuel Navi anointed Shaul, and then Shmuel anointed David. And then David was given the bracha that the Malchus will never stray from his lineage. So once the Navi told that to David through Nevuah, and we had psukim like that. So now it will follow Ben Achar Ben after David.
But which Ben? Who is
So
How that Shlomo
we'll see
will be
later
taken.
on in Malachim, the Navi is going to get involved as well. Where remember the Nasan Navi with Bathsheba, you read that Haftorah in Parshas Vayechi, or one where there's an attempt by Adoniyahu to rule. So we're going to see the Navi is going to help direct the lineage, because David had 6 sons. Remember, one already died, Adoniyahu. We're going to see Avshalom also died. Excuse me, Amnon died. He was the
Amnon.
oldest. Avshalom is also going to die. Then we're going to be left with 4 sons of David that were Roy. So Eina Chanami, who the next Melech is going to, now remember, they were already given a nevuah. There was already nevuah that both David and Bathsheba had, that Shlomo would be Melucha, but it hasn't been said yet, the Farish and the Navi. That's going to come later on. So there is a procedure. Tzvi is correct. It's always through Navi. And then once it was identified which son of David would have the Malchus, then it remains forever in the family of David.
So why Avshalom didn't see that it's according to the Navi? Why Avshalom made all this problem if you know that the Navi has to consider who is to be the melech?
I believe at this time, they believe that it's in the hands of David HaMelech. David HaMelech is going to choose who the Yoresh is. That's why Avshalom goes through all of this business where he sees that David seems to be against him, and therefore he does the Merida against it. So that there must have been a Havamina at that time that the Navi wasn't needed to decide who it is, and that David HaMelech is going to do it. Otherwise, Tzvi is right. What's the whole point of what Avshalom is doing?
I find it also very surprising